never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Welcome back, it's your guy Dan, and tonight we got a special video. This is for a special request. We have a follower and a supporter of the channel who made contact with me and asked me to review a certain pay-per-view. So Nick, this one's for you, buddy. Tonight we're going to jump back in our fucking DeLorean. And travel back to the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, July 13th, 1997. Bash at the Beach. WCW. The fans in attendance were around 8,000 and about 325,000 on pay-per-view. This was prime time Monday Night Wars. The two companies were battling for supremacy and views and of the wrestling world. So let's get to it. Let's just fucking get to it. Let's do this. All right. Ooh, let's go. I will say this. Going back and watching this pay-per-view, it took me back as a child when I first watched this. I grew up during this era. So it just brought me back like very nostalgic feels, very retro, and as a kid, I thought this was one of the best pay-per-views ever. But then as I go back and watching as an adult, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? So let's get into it. So the first match of the night was, here, let me get going. Yeah. Oh, I gotta say this. Dusty Rhodes, Tony Schiavone, and Bobby Heenan were all on commentary tonight, and I'm gonna tell you this. Dusty's a motherfucking gem. I'm sorry. He just says some of the wildest shit ever. I wish he was still with us. And honestly, I know everyone loved him as a booker, but I would love to have him on the commentator. Just for one match. Tonight's first match was against Wrath and Mortis versus Glacier and Ernest Miller. Ernest Miller's still in his early of his career. Green as can be, but he does some good work in this match. The match itself, whoa, we're going too fast. The match itself wasn't that bad. It was an okay match. While Mortis was down, the manager wraps a chain around his boot. And then he ends up super kicking Glacier. And Mortis got the pin. Match was almost 10 minutes long. Honestly, this was just your basic tag team match. And I would say this was a filler for Mick Carter's. I give the match a C. I mean, it wasn't bad. A C, more like a 4.5, somewhere around in those areas. I mean, it was a decent match. Opener, it's something you kind of expected back then. The next match, though, we got, actually before then, we got a backstage segment with DDP and his father with a fan. It was a nice little funny skit. But DDP doesn't have, he's not giving away who his partner is going to be in the next match, in his match later in the night. And this went on for a couple weeks on television, and they just played it out, and it was so aggravating because, but who we got, and eventually you'll see in a minute. So the next match we got was the Ultimo Dragon versus Chris Jericho for the WCW Cruiserweight title. This was a very, very fun match for me. We get a very young Jericho and Dragon showing off the ring skills, and they were like, we did get one botch in the match. Jericho, actually the Dragon was on the top rope, and then Jericho went to go give him a drop kick, completely missed it, and Dragon just fell. He sold it anyway. So back then this was probably but we got some good high flying action in this match, and you have a great moveset from both of them, and Chris Jericho went for a Lion Salt. The Dragon cashed in with a midair kick, which was sick. It was so sick. It was great. But Jericho wins the match, and he will take home the belt. Dusty on commentary, like I said, is gold. And this match went about 13 minutes, and I was highly entertained. This was a good mid-carder, but with these two men showing up and showing the fans we're here, I gave it a B, or like a 7. It was not my favorite matches of the night, but it was there. It was really there. This was very entertaining for me. This was before Jericho was a household name, so this is when he was starting out in WCW. This was prior Y2J Jericho. This is more the Lion Tamer, Lion Salt, all that good shit. So it was a good match. That's the one I was telling you. Jericho went to do a Lion Salt, Ultimate Dragon gave him a drop kick in the air, and it looked sick. What the fuck is Jericho wearing? Just fucking saying. They did show respect after the match. It was good. Right after this, Mean Gene goes to talk to Raven and Stevie Richards in the crowd. Raven does his normal Edgar Allan Poe poem, and Raven's voice does not match his gimmick or his look. He's very soft-spoken. He's not very deep with it. But Raven was before his time. I will say that. Raven is one of my favorite guys. He was before his time. I did not enjoy Raven until like ECW era. Steve Richards got hit by Raven because he's like, wait, tell him what we got in store for him for Monday. And I'm like, really? They never touched base on that. Gene was just like, get the fuck out of here. Next was a tag match. It was the Steiner Brothers take on the Great Muta and Masahiro Chono. And I can't pronounce those names. I'm sorry. Watching this match, I remember who the real talent in the Steiner Brothers is. It's always been Rick. It's always been Rick. He may have just barked at you, but that's it, pretty much. He used a lot of Olympic style wrestling throughout his whole career, mixed with pro wrestling. I never understood why Rick did not catch that white hot baby face, but his fucking brother did. And his brother, to me, I'm sorry, I'm not a Scott Steiner fan. I'm not a big Papa Pump fan. This is right before that time. He just doesn't do it for me in these matches, man. I remember when they were in wearing Michigan colors, and Scott had the mullet, and it was good. But in this match, Scott botched almost every fucking move he performed. It took me away from the match. His moves looked like shit. So this was the birth before the pump. But the Steiner Brothers win this match, and it was fast-paced match. It went like 12 minutes, and thank God, because Scott took me out of this match. I'm not a fan of Scott Steiner. I don't like his wrestling style. As a Steiner Brothers, I was fans, but I'm giving this match a C or a 5, just for the respect of Rick Steiner and the Great Muta. That's where I'm at with this one. Yeah. Sorry. This match is your typical let's go to the bathroom, go have a cigarette match. We got a trios match with Los Mark Jr., Héctor Garza, and Jivan Guerrero versus Psychosis with Villano IV and V. Seriously, this was your typical Lucha Libre match. I was very distracted in this match. Not because it was so much going on, but it was just because, to me, it was a little ahead of its time. The American fans were not into Lucha Libre at all. Like, they liked, this is like right before Rey Mysterio became a thing. And to me, you had one big name in this entire match, and that was Psychosis. The match went around 10 minutes. I'm giving this a fucking D. The crowd wasn't into it, and to me, it was just a baser filler match just to get 6 guys on the card. Unfortunately, like I said, it was before its time. If we would have solved this at the end of the ending life cycle of WCW, I think it would have been a better match. Yeah. The next one, we got Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, versus Chris Benoit in a loser must leave his career's done match. Dunzo. Let me say this. I used to be a huge Chris Benoit fan. Things happened in his real life that I do not agree with. I almost just took this out of my review out of respect for that. But as a whole, Chris Benoit he's a great wrestler. Very technical. But that's it. That's all I'm going to say on that. Personally, I don't like either one of these two. This turned into a hardcore match from the get-go. They destroyed the stage. Honestly, Kevin Sullivan looked like shit. And this was not his last match at all. Spoiler. He came back a couple years later, was wrestling. He was always a booker, though. So he was always working. But these two actually had a personal issue in real life. And this was at the ending of that. Sullivan's wife left Sullivan for Chris Benoit. So, yeah. It broke up the whole stage. This was a grudge match. I think it was more on a personal level than anything. There's a conspiracy theory between these two out there, and I'm not going to go over that, but if you're into that shit, there's stuff on YouTube you can look up. This match went for 13 minutes. Overall, this match was a B. I give it an 8. The fans were into it. I was into it. It wasn't a bad match. Chris Benoit did win this match. Next, we got Steve McMichael versus Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett never looks like he ages at all. And this was for the United States heavyweight belt. Newsflash, I'm not a Jeff Jarrett fan. Just not. This was your typical big man, little man. Jeff Jarrett. At one point, Deborah hands him the briefcase, and he just smashes Steve on the arm and then on the top of the head. The funniest thing in this whole match is on commentary, Dusty said, he got hit with that noggin woggin. I can't make this shit up. Dusty, you're a fucking gem and we miss you. This match went about 7 minutes, and it was decent. I gave it a C. Just because of that. I just fucking noggin woggin. Really? Next, we got a tag match. Before that, we got a promo with Hogan and Dennis Rodman in the back. To me, it's just a good pop culture voiceover. That's what that came down to. Was Rodman a serious champion for WCW? No. Just like David Arquette was never a serious champion for WCW. It was a ratings draw. It was a fan service thing. So, we'll go with that. So, we got Macho Man and Scott Hall, the bad guy, versus DDP and a mystery partner. And that mystery partner was Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. I love Curt Hennig. I think he was probably the most talented wrestler in the world at one point. This was just a spot fest to be really. They're overselling on half. It was so comical. Hennig, Hall, and DDP. I mean, it was just what it was. Point through the match, Hennig hit DDP and then he leaves him alone. So I don't get why, but he just did. Hall gets the win of the match. This match was flat, and the crowd hated it. And it was good for a reason. This match went 10 minutes, and thank God, because this is the worst part. This was the worst match on the card to me. It just did nothing for me. I fucking hated it. It was horrible. Next, we got Ric Flair versus the Icon, the best talker on the mic ever, Roddy Piper. In this match, usually Roddy Piper was a heel, but in this match, Rick played the heel as normal, and then you got Roddy Piper. Oh, I love this match. I've always loved this match. I will always love this match, no matter who says what. Says it's horrible. Shut your goddamn mouth, because this is my guys right here. If y'all don't understand, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I grew up around Ric Flair. Our families know him. I know his daughter, Charlotte. It's just one of those things that he was, one time Ric Flair was the biggest star in Charlotte before he got kicked out. But Roddy Piper is going to go down as one of my all-time favorites. He is the epitome of promo god in my eyes. He's just a crazy fun character, and to watch his moveset, his mannerisms, it was great. At one point, Rick in the match pulled out a weapon. Roddy takes it from him and hits him with it. Then Benoit comes out, because during this time, Benoit was part of the Four Horsemen. He accidentally delivered a flying headbutt to Rick. Piper gets Rick in a sleeper, and he's the winner of this match due to knockout. So back then, that was not a normal common thing, but yeah. Honestly, this match went 13 minutes. I wanted it to go another fucking 10. This was the best match of the night. Period. This gets an A+ from me. This is a 10.10. I love this fucking match. Love it. Now, let's get to, let's see some of it. They just had some funny shit like this. Rick's on his knees, Piper's on his knees, and Piper gives him an eye poke. Dude, it was just so comical, but it was so great. This was the epitome of just great matches in my history. I love Roddy Piper, man. Anyway, then we got Bruce. We got this buffer guy. Then next would be your Dennis Rodman, your champion, and Hulk Hogan from the NWO versus Lex Luger and the Giant, later known as the Big Show. Yeah. No title, just a tag match. And Macho Man was down by ringside for this. It was your typical Hogan match and Lex Luthor match. Robin did get a couple tags in. This motherfucker, all he did was hit hip toss after hip toss after hip toss. The Giant gets him in a lot of strong spots in this. And he had him up in a choke slam. And Sting walks out. Newsflash, it's fake Sting. Didn't happen. He hits the Big Slow with the bat and causes him to drop Rodman, and we get a lot of strong spots out of this one. We got spankings and chokes on Rodman. We got a few tags, but this was just fan service, man. This was just for the culture of, I don't know how else to say this. This was for fan service, period, the end. Rodman was never a good basketball. He was a good basketball. He was never a good wrestler. This was a ratings thing. This was fan service. I just was not a fan of this match. It was entertaining. Yes. As far as what we got, the match was, to me, it was entertaining, but it kind of sucked. But the fans were into it. It went 22 minutes. And they should have shortened this match and gave it to Rick and Piper. I'm going to give it a B just because the fans loved it, and I did have fun watching this. My final thoughts on this entire pay-per-view was, when watching this as a child, I remember it being the best show in the world. As an adult, watching wrestling today, it was a nostalgic feeling. But it wasn't a bad pay-per-view, but it wasn't that great either. I would say it was before its time. So I'm going to say this, and I don't want a lot of people to come after me. This is basically the forbidden door before there was a forbidden door. You had Japan stars from New Japan over. You had people from AAA, Lucha Libre. This was what AEW pulled from. You can tell that Tony Khan was a WCW fan, and he pulled some of his current role ideas from stuff like this. Like I said, would I recommend this pay-per-view? Hell yeah. It's good for nostalgia purposes. And, I mean, it's just for entertaining. If you got nothing else to do, go on Peacock, pull it up, watch it. I'm sure it's on YouTube as well. I had fun with it. I didn't plan on doing any, rewatches with the channel, but when someone asked me to do a special video, and I look at it, I'm like, you know what? I might do that. So it'll be, few and far between, but yeah, I will eventually have a section just for this right here. So, Nick, thank you for your recommendation, and this was for you, man. All right, guys. Thank y'all for coming out. Give me a like, comment, share. Follow me on Facebook, X, Twitter, all that good shit. All right. Holla.